Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to another Marvel's Champion Hero Pack unboxing. This is for Phoenix. This is the second Hero Pack, or first, I guess, because they came out together, along with Cyclops. You can check out the video for him. As part of the next campaign in the Marvel Champion series, which was Mutant Genesis, it had Shadowcat and Colossus, which introduces all of our favorite X-Men. We as well are going to have more packs and characters coming up. Wolverine, Storm, Gambit, Rogue, and who knows who else will come after that. Plus some other fun surprises along the way. Just a demo, this is a pre-built deck. So we've had Shadowcat with our protection, or our aggression. Colossus was protection. Cyclops with leadership. So Jean Grey rounds out our fourth aspect of justice. So we're going to check and see what she does. Alright, so we're going to get our big thing, which is of course our poster, which is the cover art, with the Phoenix Jean Grey. So Phoenix Hero Pack. We have our new icons, which are only new if you've only played the base game, but if you've been following along the other sets, you've come across it, so we'll just run through these kind of quick. We have Amplify. Amplify icon increases the number of boost icons on boost cards per each Amplify icon. Permanent. A card with permanent cannot be defeated. Leave play or have any part of that text box blank. Not apply to cards within the same set. So if Jean Grey has the Phoenix Force, one card we'll get to, it's permanent. It will always stay out. Or like Shadowcat has her forms for phasing. But it doesn't apply to any other card, it's just that one particular card. We have Steady. The character is Steady can have an additional stunned or additional confused status card. They don't become stunned or confused until they have two, and then they're removed like usual. Team Up are special cards we've seen starting back with Groot and Rocket Raccoon in the Guardian set. Basically, they're special cards you can put in your deck. One of the two characters listed has to be your main character, your identity. The other one, then to play the card, has to be in play. So this one's going to be Cyclops and Phoenix. So if I'm playing, another player's playing Phoenix, or playing Cyclops and I'm playing Phoenix, we can just immediately use them cards because we have them both out. But otherwise, if I'm playing Phoenix, either the other player has to have that identity, or I have to have my ally of Cyclops out, or another player could have their Cyclops ally out, as long as they're available. And then we have Villainous keyword. When a minion with Villainous activates, it gets a face-down boost card on top of the encounter deck. When it resolves, act that many boost icons, if it has an ability to resolve its effects. And then there we got Phoenix Justice. She's going to get some interesting stuff. And we'll look over her deck and see what all those abilities are. So let's start off by looking at Jean Grey herself. So she's going to show off one of the new key traits we have, which is Psionic, which is for all of our psychic or mental characters. So we've seen a few in the other sets. She's the first main character. So she has 3 recovery, but she has a star. Mutant, all the X-Men characters are listed as mutant on their alter ego side. Setup. Put your Phoenix Force upgrade into play, Restrained side face up. Place 4 power counters on it. And then response. After you make a basic recovery action, place 1 power counter on the Phoenix Force. So she has 9 hit points with 6 hand size. And we'll see what her Phoenix Force does in just a moment here. Let's look at her Phoenix Hero side. So 3 thwart, 1 attack, and 2 defense. So kind of interesting combining with Cyclops, because they have high thwart but not high attack, but they have lots of stuff that augment that. So it's kind of interesting. So if you combine them together, they're going to be kind of like a thwarting team. She should have Psionic still on this side, but she also gains the X-Men trait. Psionic Bond, Hero Resource. Remove 1 power counter from Phoenix Force. Generate 1 wild resource. Limit once per phase. The Phoenix chose me, but I alone decide who I am. So she gains, can spend these counters she gets to gain extra resources. And then just to flip back, so she starts in play with 4 counters on them, and when she recovers, she can add 1 to that. What does Phoenix Force itself do? So we'll start with the Restrained side, because this is how it comes into play, correct? I'm pretty sure it does. Yep. So this is an upgrade that has permanent. It says you gain the Restrained trait. Force response. After the last power counter is removed from here, flip this card. So she starts off, it doesn't do anything on itself, but you can spend them 4 counters you have to gain extra resources. You can play cards a lot quicker. But the thing is, once she becomes unrestrained or unleashed, permanent, you gain the unleashed trait. She gets -2 thwart and +2 attack. So this ups her Phoenix to be 1 thwart and 3 attack instead. So again, this kind of is a way to boost up her stats. But force response, after a power counter is placed here, if there are 4 or more counters here, flip this card. So if you can build it back up to 4, you can kind of shut this back in. And now you might be like, well, the only good reason to do that would be so that I can gain more thwarting back, which might be a good thing. But I'm going to guess there's other cards that are going to affect whether she's leashed or restrained. So we'll kind of check back in with that. Her signature ally, of course, is Cyclops Scott Summer. Response. After Cyclops enters play, place 2 power counters on Phoenix Force and Force Interrupt. When Cyclops leaves play, remove 2 power counters from the Phoenix Force. So now this is what's actually very interesting with her and Cyclops, because usually the signature ally just kind of does their own thing, and then if they're ever playable as a character later, their ally kind of does a similar thing of what their character would do. But Cyclops and Phoenix, because they're such a close bond, their abilities just boost the other character, which is fine because they're the signature character. They can only appear in this deck. Because Phoenix lets, when you play her in Cyclops' deck, she lets you find a Cyclops card. His is going to let her have these extra 2 power counters. So this can work with both ways of her Phoenix Force. So either one, you can gain 2 extra so you can spend them for more resources, or it's going to work the other direction, is you can put 2 more on her to help restrain the unleashed side. And then the opposite way is doubly bad as well, because if he gets defeated, then you lose 2 so you don't have as many to play, or it kind of unleashes her a little bit quicker because either of them will empty off and it'll flip her over, or it'll make her harder to restrain. She has the White Hot Room, a location for Phoenix. Alter Ego action, exhaust White Hot Room, choose one, place 1 counter on Phoenix Force, or heal 2 damage from Jean Grey's. So get them little options. Again, these power counters are either going to be used to try and restrain the unleashed side, or to keep them from unleashing, because if you're getting low, but also just helps you pay for extra powers. She has Phoenix Suit, which is an upgrade item. She gains Aerial trait. If you have the Restrained trait, you gain Steady. If you have the Unleashed trait, you gain Retaliate. This is kind of fun, depending on which one you got. If you're kind of in defense mode, you gain that Steady, which helps you not get confused or stunned. But if you have the Unleashed trait, you gain Retaliate. So when anyone hits you, you're going to smack them right back. From the Ashes upgrade, Interrupt. When you would be defeated, remove this card from the game. Ready your identity and restore it to its printed hit point value instead. Remove each power counter from the Phoenix Force. So I think we've seen one other character that's had a card like this that lets you fully resurrect them. And this is definitely good, but it's also going to unleash the Phoenix Force. So that could, be good or bad depending on what you need. But again, you have to have it out and you have to keep it out. We have Telekinetic Shield. Upgrade. Attached to a friendly character. Force Interrupt. When attached character would take damage from an enemy, place that damage here instead. If there is 5 damage here, discard Telekinetic Shield. I love this because there's so many villains that have cards that do this. Where they can get attachments, and then they basically absorb the damage ahead of time. So it's cool that you can throw this on another character. And this can be any other character. It can be another identity, main character, can be an ally. So that's super fun. Mental Paralysis. Hero form only, attached to a non-elite minion. Attached minion cannot activate. And force response after you flip the alter ego form, discard this card. So basically, if you're in hero, this is kind of cool. If you're in hero, you can freeze them from doing anything. But if you flip over, you have to get rid of it. This also kind of works with Cyclops as well, because he has cards that work with attaching to things with villains. I should stop referencing Cyclops, but I just literally went through his deck. We have Mind Control, Condition, and Psionic, attached to a non-elite minion. Take control of attached minion and treat it as a controlled ally with a blank text box. Its thwart is equal to its printed steam. It takes 1 consequential damage after it thwarts or attacks. So that's definitely fun. Just be able to steal minions. I wish it also... I get why it wouldn't work all the time, but I wish, at least based on what this says, I also wish it also, like, the Sentinels had, like, robot after them, and I wish that it would also say can't control robots. Because technically with this, she can control a Sentinel. Because Sentinels aren't elite. But I get that it wouldn't always work, because there's probably older cards that are robotic, or characters that are androids that didn't have that, so it's alright. Sometimes you just gotta, have a little, suspend your belief. 2 copies of Telekinetic Attack. Hero action deals 7 damage to an enemy. If you have the Unleashed trait, this deals 2 additional damage and gains Overkill. Poor fool, you have no idea how hopelessly outmatched you are. So if you're Unleashed, this does extra damage, but it still does a decent amount to begin with. 2 copies of Psychic Blast. Deal 4 damage to a villain. If you have Unleashed, deal 4 damage to each minion engaged with you. We fight on different battlefields. Your strength will help you in mine. Again, so Unleashed trait is definitely going to help you do some of this other stuff. 2 copies of Telepathic Trickery. Remove 4 threat from a scheme. If you have the Unleashed trait, stun and confused enemy. They can't see us because I won't let them. And then the final 2 cards are Phoenix Firebird. Hero action, choose, remove 1 power counter from Phoenix Force to ready Phoenix, or place 2 power counters on Phoenix. So again, her whole entire deck is pretty much based around flipping from your Restrained side to your Phoenix Force side. And then, again, the upside there is that you can gain extra 2 attack, but you lose thwart, but you can do a ton of extra damage. That 1 attack did 9 damage if you're in Phoenix Force, which is definitely great if you're Unleashed, I mean. But then the difference is there are going to be some consequences with her obligation and stuff for that, and her nemesis have to deal with this. But what also works is because you can... you get the extra with her main thing. You also can add remove 1 to generate extra resources. So it's kind of that balance between, do I want the extra power to do the extra little bit of damage, or do I want to be able to play more resources? Because once you flip her over, she doesn't have any counters anymore. But you could flip over to Jean Grey, make basic recovery, put like up to 3 counters on her. You could then keep flipping her back over to Phoenix and keep spending them and keeping her in her Unleashed phase as long as you wanted to. And then keep doing that. But if you need to flip over quick, you kind of got to balance how quickly you can do that. Alright, so let's look at our Justice cards. We're going to get some allies. We have Fancy, Sean Cassidy, Ariel, XMen. Response after Banshee thwarts, confuse a minion. You best cover your ears, lads. This is gonna hurt. That was a terrible Irish accent. I apologize. But yeah, that's something. Just if he thwarts, he gets to confuse a minion as well, which is nice. Gives him a good reason to thwart instead of attack. And we have Marvel Girl, her daughter Rachel Summers, Sonic X-Men. And interrupt when Marble Girl attacks a minion, remove X threat from the main Steam where X is that minion's printed Steam. So she doesn't have high attack, but it lets her remove extra thwart regardless. So even if she doesn't kill them, that's the nice thing, because when she attacks, so she could attack a guy that has, like 5 or 6 health or something. And then she could definitely do some extra things. So, like, just to quickly grab, like, she could attack Sabretooth level 3 here. She's not going to do a lot of damage, but she gets to remove 2 threat anyhow because he has 3 steam. So it's better for her to maybe attack, do 1 damage, hurt someone, as well as that, than just to thwart for 2. Whatever is up to, it's over now. Then we have 3 copies of Mission Training. So training our new cards brought to you by the X-Men to show their Danger Room work. So attach to an X-Men ally, max 1 training per ally. So that's kind of the limitation there. You only get 1 per ally, so you can't boost 1 ally up super hard. But it also has to be an X-Men ally. Attached ally gets 1 thwart and 2 hit points. Now there's an aggression version that gives you 2 attack and 1 attack and 2 hit points. And then the leadership one, I think, gets you 1 of each. And then I think protection gets you defense. Yeah, it's just kind of neat. Just what do you need your guys to do? 2 extra hit points on an ally is really great. Because even like with Marble Girl, I get moving up cards over. So with her ability of consequential damage here, she only do her attack 3 times. With this, now she could do it up to 5. But she also gains that 1 extra thwart, so maybe sometimes she doesn't need to attack. Maybe she needs to do 3 thwart instead, which might be better than doing damage. She definitely gets you some extra options. We have 3 copies of Psychic Manipulation. Use only if your identity has a psionic trait. This does limit right now because Jean Grey is the only main character of psionic out of the 4, so she's the only one that can use this Justice card. Interrupt when the villain schemes this activation. When the villain schemes, this activation removes threat instead of placing it. Okay, so yeah, basically if they try and scheme, you can make them get rid of them instead of doing it. So again, it works really well with characters that have high threats or high schemes. 3 copies of Mutant Peacekeepers. Thwart place only if your identity has the X-Men trait. And exhaust your hero and any number of X-Men allies. Remove X threat from among the schemes in play, where X is the total number of thwart of those characters. So this is kind of nice because it works well if you have a couple different allies. Exhaust them, remove X threat from amongst all the schemes where X is the total number of threats. You can get rid of a lot of threat very quickly. 3 copies of Swift Retribution. Hero attack. Villain schemes deal 4 damage to the villain. They took what don't belong to them. And then we say we take it back, mon ami. And that was my terrible Gambit impression. So there we go. Yeah, so they have a bunch of ones like these where the villain like the villain attacks, and then you get to do damage or do something. This one, the villain schemes, and then you get to do extra damage. And basically, it's like you're trading a cheap card for the fact that the villain gets to attack or scheme, but you get to do something back to them. So maybe it's worth letting them scheme and add 2 scheme, like Sabretooth. Again, let's look at like level 1 Sabretooth. Let's have happen here. It might be worth letting him scheme for 1 point, just for you to be able to attack, to do 4 extra damage to him. Because maybe that's what you need to finish him off or get closer to it. And then the last 2 Justice cards are Passion for Justice, which are the new resources. Now I have 1 for each color. So Interrupt, when you spend this card to play a thwart event, removes 1 additional thwart. So these new resources are really fun. They only produce 1 wild energy, but if you spend them, instead of spending them on a certain color, like the other ones used to be, like you get double if you spent them on the same color. Like, you spend it on Justice, you get 2 wild instead. This one, if you spend them on a specific thing that deck's good at, like thwarting for justice, defense for protection, attack for aggression, or an ally for leadership, you gain an extra effect. So it bonuses if you play it for certain things, but if you don't, at bare minimum, it's still at least an extra energy card. Alright, then let's look at our basic characters. So we have Storm, Aurora Monroe, Ariel, and X-Men. So we're getting a bunch of Ariel in this set. Reduce the cost to play Storm by if your identity has mutant or X-Men trait. And then interrupt when Storm thwarts or schemes, move 2 threat from that scheme to another scheme. Yes, it's kind of fun. It doesn't get rid of it, but it lets you at least move the threat around. But it's not also preventing her from doing her 2 threat. She's doing her 2, it's letting her move it. So it's kind of, helpful because it's not getting rid of it, but maybe it's putting it somewhere where it's not going to hurt nearly as much. We have another location here. We have Cerebro. Only if your identity has a mutant trait. Alter Ego action. Exhaust Cerebro. Search the top 5 cards of your deck for an X-Men ally. Search your whole deck instead if you control a psionic character and shuffle that ally, or add that ally into your hand and shuffle your deck. So that's just really fun because if you have a psionic character, you just search your entire deck. Otherwise, the top 5, what you find an X-Men ally. And now, with this, though, it just has to be a psionic character. It doesn't have to, again, be your main character. So your alter ego can exhaust, or have an alter ego, we can exhaust it with them to search it. So Cyclops can use it if he has Phoenix in play. Or, if you have another Psychic from another deck. So that's definitely cool. Then we have our team-up card. We have Psychic Rapport, Cyclops, and Phoenix. Ready Cyclops and Phoenix. That's definitely nice just for readier characters. Choose to either return a Cyclops card from your discard pile to your hand or place 2 power counters on Phoenix. So, we went through Cyclops, we pointed out how important it is for him to be able to return cards, but now we can see how great this would actually be for Phoenix. And since if you're playing both, you can have 2 copies of this, 1 in each deck. But yeah, adding extra 2 counters, because so far this is one of the few ways you can add counters. None of the rest of her cards, I don't think, not that I remember, Cyclops did stuff. Yeah, a couple of them added counters, but not too many. Most of them were just focused on, kind of focused on the other stuff. But yeah, that lets you basically play this, get your 2 counters, which can help you restrain the Phoenix again, or flip her back over if you need to, in case you want to do a lot more thwarting, which again, this is a Justice deck, so thwarting is really important for her. So being unleashed, she does more damage, but she's not going to get the advantage of all her thwarts. Or you can use it for 2 extra power and play more cards. So if you want to swap out her deck from being a Justice to like Aggression, maybe that's a way to go. We are also going to get 3 copies of Downtime. Condition, play under any player's control, your alter ego gets +2 recovery. Who can argue with that, right? So instead of an actual healing, it just ups your recovery. Then we're going to get a new Energy, Genius, and Strength with just X-Men characters on it, which is really fun. I'm glad that they didn't throw the Avenger characters in here now that we're kind of out of the Avengers. Although, with that being said, it would have been kind of neat if they'd added Spider-Man ones for the Spider-Man set, and then Guardians for the Guardian expansion. Like they kind of would have made some new for like each big box. Although, like I did say during the Mutant Genesis unboxing, a lot of fans, what they do is they like to print off character specifics. So like Phoenix would have one with each one of her art on it. Like Captain America had one with each one of his art. And it does kind of make the deck stand out a little bit nicer that way. But that's a completely optional thing you can go print off. Alright, let's look at her obligation. So this is where the Unleashed thing is going to make a big difference. Because as of right now, for her to be unleashed, there is currently not really a penalty. You gain -2 thwart, but you gain +2 attack. Otherwise, there is no downside to it. It doesn't prevent you to do anything. A lot of her cards gain bonuses from it. So why wouldn't you want to be unleashed? Because again, even you can add power counters, just as long as you don't go back up over 4, you can keep spending them. It says, give to the Jean Grey player. This is Burning Hunger. When revealed, if you have the Unleashed trait, search the encounter deck, discard pile and set aside area for Dark Phoenix, and then reveal her. Then remove Burning Hunger from the game. If you have the Restrained trait, remove 1 power counter from Phoenix Force and discard this. It gains Surge. Discard this card. So this is kind of interesting, because usually the obligations are basically, more or less, flip your alter ego and exhaust, so you lose your turn, and that gets rid of it, or discard this, suffer a little thing that hinders your deck, and then you have to keep reusing it. So this doesn't actually in any way prevent you from having your turn. Basically, if you're in a restraint and you're trying to be calm, you move 1 power counter, which might flip you to that way, and you just have to gain Surge and deal with something different. Otherwise, you have to find Dark Phoenix, which again, in the over-under all of it, doesn't directly hurt you. But here's the problem. Here's your nemesis, which is Phoenix, which is the Dark Phoenix. She has 12 hit points, which is almost as high. It's probably one of the highest minion cards out there. Cosmic Entity and Elite, so a lot of control effects won't work on her. Steady, Toughness, and Villainous. When the Dark Phoenix schemes, threats it would be place the threat on the Consume the World if able. So she doesn't care about the main plot, she's only going to work on her side scheme. When revealed, search the encounter deck, discard pile, and set it aside for Consume the World and reveal it. So what's Consume the World do? It needs 6 counters, it has boost icon on it, it has permanent, so once it's in here you can't get rid of it. So once Dark Phoenix comes out, you can maybe kill Dark Phoenix, but you can't kill Consume the World. So there's a possibility that she could somehow come back. You might be in trouble. Well, there is no threat here. This team loses the boost icon. Force response. After the threat is placed here, if there's at least 12 threat here, the player loses the game. So it's not. It comes with 6. You have to try and remove some. But it gains. If it has 12, you automatically lose the game. So this is why the Unleashed trait could be bad. I know it's not a super common thing that might happen because you have to either you have to draw her out obligation or another way to bring Phoenix out. But if Phoenix comes out, basically now you're on a time limit to try and either defeat her, which is going to pull you away from doing everything else because you either have to be attacking her to get rid of her 12, but she already has some good defenses. Plus she has Villainous. When she attacks, she's going to gain extra boosts. So her scheme might not do 2, it might do 5. And then when she does steam, she has good. So if you're in attack mode, fine, you can do that, but if you try and go to Alter Ego, she's going to steam. She steams too hard, she's going to consume the world. So you basically have to keep her focused on you, which also draws you away from everything else. Then, to make that even more challenging, she has 3 copies of Fiery Rage. Peril, when you resolve this, other players cannot help you. When revealed, if Dark Phoenix is in play, she activates against you. If Dark Phoenix is not in play, place 1 threat on Consume the World, and this card gains Surge. So even if you defeat her, and these cards are now in the deck, she can, and there's 3 of them, she can gain up to 3 more threat on that card. So basically you have to keep it under, even if you defeat her, you still have to drop that down below 9. Otherwise, you might draw one of these and it might end up triggering. The thing is, because it has Surge, you don't know if you might trigger all 3 in a row by accident. So it's a fun, different mechanic, and it definitely feels very Dark Phoenix-y. So there's her deck with all her different cards. But yeah, so it's Unleash with her set that, Unleash the Phoenix, eliminates her threat, or her thwarting, drops that down, which does kind of go against the whole point of her having Justice, which is all about thwarting, but she gains some major attacks out of it. Her cards can do some extra damage. So you kind of gotta bounce. Do you want to do that extra attack, or do you want to be thwarting? Which side do you want to be on? And you gotta watch out for when that obligation might appear. I wish she had at least one card in her deck that let her look at cards coming up that might help her figure out what to do. Again, I don't usually pull extra cards out of other decks, but I do want to point out this one. This is from Cyclops' deck, because he can use other allies. We have Blindfold, which is Justice. This could easily fit right into Jean Grey's deck. It says, after Shanker's play, with the top 5 cards in the encounter deck, discard one of those, put the rest back in the same order. So, getting Blindfold out, so it might be worth getting the Cyclops deck, swapping someone over, maybe editing those decks a bit, maybe swap Banshee out or Marble Girl out, and putting in Blindfold into Jean Grey's deck. Because if you draw and it's one shot, but you have 5 cards, that Obligation is in there, chuck that card out. Then you don't have to hopefully worry about it anymore. Or you see one of the other Fiery Phoenix ones, you could get rid of one of those. But yeah, it could definitely be very helpful to get rid of some of them cards. Alright, so the final thing we're going to get is some extra boost cards for the other aspects. We're going to have 3 copies of Psychic Assault for aggression. Attack Sonic. Play only if your identity has a Sonic trait. Again, currently Jean Grey is the only identity that has that, so hopefully they'll add some other characters that they haven't added yet. Although it's so far the other X-Men are Cyclops or are Wolverine, Storm, and Gambit, with a possibility, I'm assuming Rogue, they haven't officially announced her. So none of them would have Psionic, although Rogue's ability might let her gain that because of her mutant ability. But I mean, there's so many other different characters. Psylocke, White, Emma Frost, they could add in there. They could have Professor X. They could have other cards that give the ability. Plus, there's other Marvel characters. You could have, like, Moondragon get added in there. They wanted a Guardian or Avenger. That would be kind of fun. Or just some other different stuff like that. So it'd be interesting to see who else they add as Psionic. Hero action, deal 3 damage to an enemy. Confuse that enemy. So you can't argue with that. Confuse them so they can't scheme next turn and get or hurt them. 3 copies of Psychic Manipulation for the Protection deck. Play only if you have Psionic. When an enemy attacks, choose a different enemy. The damage from that attack is dealt to the chosen enemy instead. So she has one in her deck that lets them, if they scheme, you can throw that scheme onto a different, remove it from a different threat instead. This one's going to let you redirect your damage, which is really fun. So big guy attacks, have him take out one of the minions. And then for leadership, we have 3 copies of Psychic Kicker. Play on if you have Psionic. Readying ally, that ally gets 2 thwart and 2 attack for its next basic thwart or attack action. This could work really well with some of our other heroes. So like definitely Banshee here. He wants to thwart. That could work really well. Or even like with Rachel Summers here, Marvel Girl, giving her 2 extra attack because she wants to attack. She can remove more, so she can use that to then do that scheming. Giving her 2 extra there, definitely helpful. So now she has 3 damage. So definitely some fun things you could do there. Although she's in a yellow deck, so it wouldn't work directly with her unless you were playing this in Cyclops' deck, who has leadership already, and you swap Marble Girl over there as one of his allies. Then the final 2 cards we're going to get is a nice teaser. We have Soul Sisters. Team up with Phoenix and Storm. So max points per deck. So we know we're getting Storm, and now we have one for these 2 as well. And I love this because there's not enough team-up cards, and the few that they are don't generally cross over to different characters. Like, Iron Man, War Machine have one. Rocket and Groot. Nebula and Gamora have them. But, like, they don't have any characters that share them. This is the first time they do, where Phoenix now can team up with Cyclops or with Phoenix. And I know later on we're going to get one with Wolverine where he can team up with Colossus, which gives Colossus the opportunity to team up with Shadowcat or with Wolverine. I really, really super wish they just released like a pack of team-up cards that would work with like here's a couple more encounter characters, some other like things like that. some modular encounters. Maybe here's a bunch of team up cards for all these like Captain America, Iron Man, so we can see different things like Thor and Lady Thor, Spider-Man and Miles Morales. So some of that stuff would be really cool. Anyhow, this says ready Phoenix and Storm, which is what the team ups do, and then heal 2 damage from each of them. So basically free healing, which is definitely cool, which will help them both stay in the battle. Now, this card, although it's included in this set, is not currently playable, because although we have Phoenix, actually that's not correct. We can play it, because we have Storm as a basic character, if you just looked at. So that is actually fun. I forgot about that. So Storm is in here, so you can include this one in Jean Grey's deck. But you can only include 1 copy. But they just give you 2 so they don't have to reprint it in another deck somewhere else. So that's definitely fun. And then you can also technically include this in Cyclops' deck as well, because Cyclops has Phoenix as a signature ally, and you could include Storm as a... Oh, sorry. That won't work, because one of the 2 characters has to be your main leads. No, it would not work in Cyclops' deck. I am incorrect there. Alright, that is what we have, though. That is definitely fun. I like how they're doing the hero packs now, where the first couple of hero packs give you the extra card to help boost up the new character groups and that. And then the next 2 that they have coming out, Wolverine and Storm, will have new modular encounters, which is what they started doing with some of the Spider characters. And that's definitely fun, because then you get more characters that theme with those groups, or different characters, without having to wait for a big box set to come out, or a special scenario pack. But then you also get some extra cards here, so you're getting a little mixture of both, which is definitely fun. Alright, that's what we got for this video. See you guys later. Bye!